So imagine an autonomous AI um, creates a digital painting,
Right.
and then it just, copyrights that artwork under its own legal name, collects royalties in crypto every single time someone views it.
And uses those funds to pay its own server costs.
Exactly, and hires human developers to upgrade its code. I mean, we aren't talking about science fiction here.
No, not at all. The digital infrastructure for this is, well, it's being actively built right now.
Welcome to today's deep dive, everyone. We have a massive stack of sources to make sense of today. I mean, everything from validator security blogs and wallet reviews to active Reddit community debates and the official 2026 Cosmos ecosystem roadmap.
That's a lot of ground to cover.
It really is. Our mission today is to decode how this whole crypto landscape is maturing. We're looking at how you can actively protect your assets, why major networks are suddenly, consolidating, and how artificial intelligence is basically colliding with on-chain intellectual property.
Yeah, to really understand where this unmapped frontier is going, we first have to look at the bedrock, right?
Yeah.
The secure.
Right, the validators.
Exactly, because if you're trusting a decentralized network with your assets, you have to look closely at the validators, the actual servers processing your transactions.
Which means you really need a framework to evaluate these operators before you just hand over your voting power. I saw the Starknet validation guide in our stack lays out a rubric for this.
Yeah, it identifies 4 critical pillars. First is uptime. You obviously want to see an uptime of 99% or higher.
Right, for the consistent compounding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The second is the commission rate. And a healthy commission generally sits between 5 and 10%.
Wait, so paying a fee is actually a good sign?
Totally. It's what funds the enterprise-grade servers and security layers. It's essentially an insurance policy, not a penalty.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The third metric is total stake, which is basically a proxy for community trust. And finally, you look at their performance score. A score near 100% means they're actually producing the blocks they're assigned.
Because if they fail to produce those blocks, there are real financial consequences for you, the delegator. Blocks United outlines these protocol-level penalties called slashing.
It's the network enforcing algorithmic discipline.
Yeah, so if your validator has prolonged downtime, the network just straight up slashes 0.01% of your tokens.
Which is a small penalty designed to discourage negligence. But double signing is where it gets scary.
Right, double signing, that's when their servers are poorly configured and they try to verify conflicting transaction histories, right?
Exactly. The network views that as a potential attack. The penalty for that is a massive 5% slash, and those tokens are permanently burned.
Wow, 5% just gone. Which is why the wallet you use to manage all this is so incredibly important. Our sources praise Kepler heavily for its, Cosmos DeFi integration and ledger hardware support.
But then you have the cautionary tales.
Right. Atomic Wallet gets called out specifically. They had that huge hack back in June 2023.
Yeah, and they actually forced their users to delegate to a single validator that the wallet itself controls.
Which totally defeats the whole decentralized ethos of proof of stake.
It completely centralizes power and creates a massive single point of failure.
Speaking of centralization, there is this fascinating real-world strategy playing out on Reddit right now.
Right, I saw that.
And Atlas is trying to break the centralization of the top 50 Cosmos Hub validators. But I'm curious, how do you even break into that active set when the entrenched players hold all the voting power?
Well, it requires a highly aggressive economic strategy. You need millions of dollars in delegated state just to participate. And to make it harder, the Cosmos Hub hard-coded a 5% minimum commission. So they engineered a workaround. They're offering early delegators a monthly rebate airdrop.
They manually refund the 5% back to your wallet.
Every single month.
And they gamified it, which is the wild part. They are using an NFT for the legal agreement.
It's a brilliant marketing move.
Yeah. If you stake 1,000 to 4,999 ADOM, you get a limited mint hub NFT that guarantees this rebate until 2028. And if you stake 5,000 or more, the NFT covers you until 2030.
And they're only minting 120 of these total. It locks in long-term liquidity.
Exactly. But if we pull back from the validators for a second, securing the blockchain is really just step one, because we're seeing this massive shift toward consolidation and enterprise-grade privacy right now.
The networks are realizing they have to adapt to attract institutional money. The 2026 Enterprise Roadmap from that crypto news report really highlights this. Cosmos Labs natively introduced proof of authority directly into the Cosmos SDK.
Wait, proof of authority? I thought the whole point of these networks was proof of stake, where anyone with capital can validate.
It is, usually.
Yeah.
But think about a massive multinational bank.
Sure.
If they want to build an internal settlement network, they simply cannot allow random public validators to process their proprietary data.
Right, for regulatory reasons.
Right. Historically, they'd have to awkwardly fork the code or launch a dummy token. By building proof of authority directly in, Cosmos lets them spin up permission networks natively. It's an open-source walled garden.
That makes total sense. And that ties into the privacy upgrades, right? The ZK-UTXO models?
Yes, zero-knowledge, unspent transaction outputs.
So basically, instead of a public ledger showing every account balance, a zero-knowledge proof lets a bank prove a transaction is valid without revealing the sender, receiver, or amount.
Exactly. And they made deliberate choices here. They bypassed T's trusted execution environments because they have a history of security flaws.
Oh, interesting.
And they bypassed fully homomorphic encryption, or FHE, because it doesn't scale to high-frequency finance speeds. ZK-UTXOs hit the sweet spot.
But it's not just software upgrades. The ecosystem is literally physically consolidating.
By consolidating on the hub, you reduce friction and strengthen the economic alignment of the whole network.
Okay, but collapsing all these chains into one central hub creates this massive honeypot. If institutional money pours in, the decentralized finance, the DeFi infrastructure, has to be completely bulletproof.
It has to survive catastrophic volatility.
Right, and we have real data on that from the mid-October stress test.
That was a bloodbath.
The numbers are terrifying. $20 billion wiped out and 1.6 million accounts liquidated in 24 hours.
Just massive deleveraging.
But amid all that, the Nolus protocol, an asset-backed margin platform, survived with 81% of its portfolio fully intact.
Which is incredible.
How did they manage to avoid that cascade of liquidation?
Well, they basically abandoned the standard immediate liquidation model. Normally, if an Oracle price drops below a threshold for a millisecond, a bot instantly liquidates you.
Right, it's totally unforgiving.
Super rigid. So Nolus uses a 10-minute exponential moving average instead to smooth out price spikes.
Oh, so a momentary flash crash barely moves the 10-minute average.
Exactly.
Right.
But the real game changer is their market anomaly guard, or MAG.
Yes. The example in the sources was crazy. During the crash, ATOM briefly hit $2.78 on Nolus, while crashing to 0.001, a fraction of a penny on some centralized exchanges.
Just because their order books were totally empty.
Right. And on a standard protocol, that penny price would trigger massive, unfair liquidations. But MAG steps in.
Right. MAG actively pauses or cancels the liquidation process when it sees unnatural price dislocations. It saved 23.4% of the Nolus portfolio, like 610 grand, from unfair liquidations during that crash.
But wait, if you pause liquidations during a massive crash, aren't you just accumulating bad debt for the protocol? Like, you're holding a loan that's severely underwater.
It's a great question, but no. Because MAG simulates the transaction first. It checks if the actual swap output would fall below a safety threshold due to extreme slippage.
Ah, so it sees that the trade itself is what causes the bad debt.
Exactly. It waits for the temporary illiquidity to pass instead of locking in a phantom crash, resulting in zero bad debt.
That is such a huge maturity leap for algorithmic risk management. And it's not the only one. There are Reddit discussions about this system called Trust Chain, fixing liquidity provider pools on osmosis.
Trust Chain is fascinating. It's essentially an on-chain credit score, ranging from 100 to 1,000 for liquidity providers.
Because without it, a bot dropping millions into a pool for 1 second gets the same reward percentage as a genuine user locking capital up for a year.
Right, it doesn't differentiate. So Trust Chain uses the Fairscale API to measure the Gini coefficient of a wallet.
Which is usually a macroeconomics term, right? Measuring wealth inequality.
Yeah, but here it measures behavior. If an account has a Gini coefficient greater than 0.3, it mathematically flags them as a Sybil account or a sandwich bot.
Meaning 99% of their activity is just predatory microsecond liquidity spikes.
Exactly. And once flagged, Trust Chain just blocks their rewards. It routes the yield back to the genuine long-term providers. They've reduced one block LPs by 47%.
Yeah, it's like the blockchain developed an immune system.
It really is.
So we have secure validators, enterprise-grade hubs, and bulletproof DeFi. But what happens when we introduce non-human actors like AI agents into this pristine financial plumbing?
This is where things get truly wild.
Yeah. Let's talk about Story Protocol. The whole premise is taking intellectual property art, code, whatever, and tokenizing it on-chain with programmable licenses. But there's the AI hallucination problem. If you tell a large language model to register your IP and set up a royalty flow,
it will hallucinate. It'll misconfigure the license, route the money wrong, and confidently destroy your legal rights.
so enter story skills.
Right. Story skills are basically verifiable, codified actions for OpenClaw AI frameworks.
I think of them like bowling bumpers for AI.
That's a perfect analogy.
You want the AI to throw the ball, like manage your IP business, but you need bumpers so it doesn't illegally copyright someone else's work or send your money to a hacker.
Exactly. The story skills teach the AI the exact sequence of smart contracts needed to register an asset and route royalties perfectly every single time.
Yeah.
And this fits into a much larger trend.
Right, the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance, the ASI.
Fetch.ai, merging with SingularityNet and Kudos. Their whole goal is to deploy these exact types of on-chain AI services.
So let's look at the whole picture we've covered today. We started with picking validators strategically to avoid getting slashed. Then we saw the Cosmos Hub physically absorbing major chains to fix liquidity fragmentation and attract enterprise adoption.
And we explored how Nolus survived a $20 billion crash with intelligent anomaly guards and how TrustChain filters out bots.
All leading up to teaching AI how to safely handle human intellectual property.
Which leaves us with a pretty provocative timeline to mull over.
I love these. Lay it on us.
Well, if AI agents can now use story skills to perfectly execute IP registration
Yes.
and collect recurring royalties on-chain,
Yeah.
how long until an autonomous AI creates a piece of digital art, copyrights it itself, collects the royalties, and uses that money to pay its own server costs and hire human developers?
Oh, wow.
Because the infrastructure is permissionless. It doesn't care if you're a human or a script.
That completely changes the perspective. You're no longer just securing a network for people.
Exactly. You might actively be staking the infrastructure for the first AI millionaires.
And suddenly, the idea of technology building its own infrastructure isn't just a metaphor anymore. It is quite literally the next block on the chain.